Hello and welcome to The Hearing, our music review show here on the channel. I'm John.
And I'm Scotto.
And before we get to this week's album, a bit of business in reference to 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago.
I was going to say, yeah, it's been a while since we've done one of these, huh?
Our last episode, just before Thanksgiving, our review of the Phosphorescent Blues by Punch Brothers.
Right.
In the episode, I mentioned that their latest album, All Ashore, was just a straightforward bluegrass album. At the time, had only really heard 2 songs. I've since listened to more of it. It is definitely not a straightforward bluegrass album. It is.
Yeah, I think I got to the first 2 songs too. I was thinking of like, oh, this is just a normal bluegrass album.
Well, no, the second song is where Angel of Doubt is the one that really made me realize this is not a bluegrass album.
Oh.
Because that one kind of starts as kind of a pop punk thing, goes into really mellow, kind of a classically section, and then ends with a rap. And they lean into soul and rock and a variety of other styles in the album. It's their usual mix of all different genres, just without the overt classical covers and overt pop songs like on Phosphorescent Blues. So I absolutely recommend that one. I also recommend checking out their WGBH and Tiny Desk concerts on YouTube. They did a Tiny Desk concert after Phosphorescent Blues, played Julep and My Oh My, both of our favorites. And a couple of others. And then they did a full show for WGBH, which was great. Also, Chris Thiele, the mandolinist and vocalist, hosts a music show called Live From Here. And it's every week on Saturdays. And this coming episode as we're recording this, December 15th, or last Saturday as you're watching this. When will then be now?
Oh, yeah.
St. Vincent announced that she'll be a guest.
Oh, wow.
So you have Annie Clark, and Chris Thiele pretty frequently performs with the guests.
Yeah.
So you have Annie Clark and Chris Thiele possibly sharing a stage. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the 2 most innovative musicians of the last decade.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's going to be amazing. Other guests are John Batiste, who I've never heard of.
Stay Human. He's the musical director for Colbert Show.
Oh, okay. Noam Pikelny, the banjo player from Punch Brothers, who's done some solo stuff, and Sarah Watkins, who was in Nickel Creek with Chris Thiele. That was in a group called I'm With Her, and does some solo stuff. Those are the other guests. When it's up, I will link to it on our Facebook, or all of our social media. So yeah, I definitely want to see St. Vincent, especially since it's mostly kind of a folkish kind of show.
Yeah,
a lot of folk artists. So it'll be interesting to see what she does.
For Polysonic Spree.
Yeah, she kind of did that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and I'm guessing she's promoting Mass Education, so probably going to do something like that from there.
I don't know. I kind of view Mass Education as just a way of prolonging, Mass Seduction.
I think she is counting it as a separate album, and I know she's done some TV performances performing songs from it.
Which they somehow nominated Mass Seduction for this year's Grammys, even though
it came out last year.
Yeah,
or was it 2016 even?
It was 17. It just made their cutoff, and like the album of the year at least for alt rock, the album of the year for last year came out like 2 weeks before her album.
Okay, wow. Anyway, like I said,
the Grammys are weird.
Yeah, I'll link to Live From Here with St. Vincent on our social medias. Real quick, I watched a promo for it before we started tonight, and Chris Thiele, along with a couple of other singers, looked like the other 2 from I'm With Her, was performing a cover of Nothing But Flowers.
Oh, wow.
Really interesting cover. Can't wait to hear it in full.
He's also nominated, David Byrne.
They're
in the same category against each other.
Nice. Anyway, on to this week's album, which is from 2016. Gabriel Byrne.
Forgot me hat.
Gabriel Royal's self-titled debut album. Gabriel Royal is an American singer-songwriter and cellist based in Brooklyn, New York. He got his start as a busker on the New York City subway, where he also found his lawyer, his manager, and even his cello. Not the one he went down there starting with, another one. It also brought Royal to the attention of the BUSKRS YouTube channel, which featured him in 2012 and 2013, and the creators of Welcome to Night Vale, which featured him as the Weather, which is their musical segment on the show. in their 2014 episode Condos, and that's where I found out about them. Gabriel Royal's self-titled debut album, well, sort of debut album, I'll get to that in a moment, was independently released on September 16th, 2016, and features Gabriel Royal on vocals, cello, piano, and percussion, along with guest musicians Tracy Bonham on violin.
Remember her? I love Tracy Bonham.
Charlie Ferguson on drums on Morning Baby, Jake Cohen on bass on Morning Baby, and Ashanti Chaplin on vocals on So Glad to See Ya. I said it was sort of his debut album because he acknowledges it as his debut album, even though he had done an album previously. The only two songs on it worth checking out the previous album are On Again, Off Again, Friend, and When You Came Around, both of which are on the BUSKRS channel. I will link in the description to his playlist of the 3 or 4 songs that he did on the BUSKRS channel. All worth checking out. They're all live in the subway.
Yeah.
I showed you one last time.
Yeah.
All right, now on to the tracks. Reminder, I don't edit any songs into the episodes for copyright reasons, but down in the description, you'll find Gabriel and on johnandscotto.com. I don't mention that often enough. I also put the links on our blog in case you're listening to the podcast. I'll link to the album on Bandcamp, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as, like I said, the BUSKRS playlist. On to track 1, G Major Suite. This is a great mix of classical and soul.
Right.
And it's really a great example of chamber pop, which is a genre that's not very well known. It's a mix of classical and pop. That is what a lot of this album is.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a division of this album, like the first half and the second. Sure. And he starts out very soft and slow. It's kind of, the melody sounds so damn familiar, but I just can't put my finger on it.
It's kind of a standard R&B melody or soul melody.
Yeah.
His voice reminds me so much of Sam Cooke.
Well, I mean, it could be... It's slowed down sternly, but like the melody could be anything from Burt Bacharach.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's just
say that again. You froze for a minute.
Oh, what?
Say that again. I'm not going to edit, but say that again from Burt Bacharach.
The melody could be anything from Burt Bacharach to Radiohead to the Yeah Yeah Yeah. It's just kind of in this kind, chamber pop,
right?
Melody,
chamber pop. Not chamber pot.
I said pop, I think.
with a P, with a P as in Peter, not a T as in top.
It's kind of like a Westworld thing where you're hearing this music, you know what it is, but it's in such a different way that you're kind of like, oh, okay.
Love the transition from the first vocal section that you're talking about, that kind of, very recognizable melody, into this beautiful instrumental break between the sections. It's a suite. So it's two or three sections merged together,
right,
and into this B section that is a little more melancholy. I kind of feel like it's about a relationship. It starts off and it's all nice, and it kind of ends, and it's kind of a bittersweet but melancholy ending.
I saw a website, they were comparing him to Sufjan Stevens, and I think it's an excellent comparison. I would love to see the two of them work together. I think they would complement each other very well. And
there's this nice cello solo at the end. He during most of the vocal sections, he's playing pizzicato. He's plucking,
right,
or strumming. But he breaks that up with some beautiful bowed solos. On to track 2, Say It's Right. This is the solo, and for me, this was the weakest song.
It's a shift from the very stark opener, but yeah, I think it's still kind of...
It's very repetitive. The same chord progression and mostly the same melody throughout the song. Just kind of enhanced in the chorus with some strings and some vocals in the second verse, kind of singing the same part that the strings were playing.
And wasn't this the big single?
Yeah, this was the single. And it just kind of takes the same progression and similar melody and just kind of builds it. The percussion builds from snaps to claps to a synthetic snare.
Yeah.
And then it gets really quiet in the last verse for this big loud ending. Just kind of very repetitive. In my opinion, not a great choice for us. It is a very commercially viable song, though.
It just kind of goes on for a bit too long, I think, for what it is.
Maybe I think that's why it was chosen, because it's repetitive and accessible. As opposed to something like The Suite that a lot of people will hear and think, what the fuck is that? On to track 3, Past the Flowers. This is my favorite.
Kind of gets into like John Lennon territory here, you know?
A little bit, yeah. Love the cello part at the beginning.
Is this a waltz?
Yeah, it is. It's a 3/4.
Yeah.
This is where he really sounds like Sam Cooke. Love the vocal harmonies. It's all Gabriel Royal, but he just harmonizes with himself really nicely. I'd seen the Subway version of this, originally called There Were Times, before I heard this version. So I can't really help comparing them, but they do compare pretty favorably. Again, a beautiful mix of classical and soul. And I love the bowed strings in the last verse. It's just a short song that's really poignant. It's about, again, the end of a relationship. And he's trying to kind of make up, and, you can walk past the flowers, presumably left on their doorstep. On to track 4, Morning Baby. You mentioned Burt Bacharach. This might as well be a Burt Bacharach song.
He should have just covered the song that he's doing here. It's pretty obvious what he's doing, I felt.
You have a particular song in mind? I have a particular songwriter in mind, but not a particular song.
This is I Love You More Today Than Yesterday.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
It's late 60s. I had to look it up. The Band's Spiral Staircase.
Uh-huh.
It's probably one of the greatest pop songs ever recorded. So I could assume why, I understand why he would go for it. And I mean, I even had to like listen to it while I hit pause the first time, load it up, listen to it. It just felt like I was listening to an extended mix.
This is the only song with a rhythm section too. There's actually as I mentioned earlier, there's actually a bassist and a drummer on this one. Love the contrast between the up-tempo chorus, with this very Burt Bacharach, feel to the soft verses. Chorus does get a bit repetitive because it's one line repeated over and over again, and there's like 3 or 4 choruses in a row.
It's like the original. I love you more today than yesterday.
On to track 5, Fall Apart. This is another favorite of mine. It's kind of proggy.
If there was a flute here, I would swear this was Jethro Tull. He really goes there.
There's great syncopation between the vocals and the strings and the verse, and it really is just vocal and cello. There's maybe some other strings in the chorus, but there's no percussion, no bass, no anything, nothing else.
Right.
And it's a syncopated verse and this nice lush chorus, a nice contrast there. And it's just a really nice departure. I think this is where the album changes for me. You mentioned
definitely.
This is the dividing line.
Right. Like Morning Baby, I mean, is done very well too, and it really does grab your attention. But yeah, here is where he starts getting really creative.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the beginning is creative. It's just it's very classic chamber pop.
Right. It doesn't really grab you though. It's just you have to really be tuning in to listen to it to get it.
True. Fair point. I've also heard this album ad nauseum. I listened to it a lot when it just came out. On to track 6.
But here's where
one of the most interesting.
It starts warming up, and then 6.
This is basically a hip hop song.
Yeah.
With cello, synth, drum machine, and vocal.
I think this was my pick for
the
favorite song.
Love the groove on this one. There's this synth line, very kind of thin, single note synth line, very hip hop, that comes in the chorus that doesn't really fit, but it fits.
No, I'm thinking of the next one.
Okay. Anyway, that synth line doesn't really make sense in the chorus, but it fits.
Because it does. Song. I mean, at first I thought it was a Duran Duran keyboard, but then I was like, wait a minute, Duran Duran lifted that from Yes.
Well, and it's very much that thin, reedy synth sound, a synth patch that a lot of hip hop uses.
Yeah,
a lot of West Coast hip hop, particularly.
Okay.
Well, probably my favorite vocal on it because I love the dynamics.
Yeah.
Because most of it is fairly low and mellow, but then he really built certain sections.
Right, and this just has so much going on. It's funky. There's a bit of doo-wop to it.
Yeah.
There's new wave to it. There's R&B. There's soul. I mean, he really puts it all in there.
Although groceries, it seems like an odd word to put into a repeated line.
I think that's why this wasn't my standout. The whole like she went to get some groceries and didn't come back, kind of thing. Come on, dude.
He ends with the line. She said she's just going out for some groceries, and now I'm left figuring out feeling lonely. Not even an exact rhyme. Yeah, and he repeats it a bunch of times.
Right.
That's to me. That's where the song falls apart a little bit.
It's not the lyric that of it. It's more of the concept of, come on, that old thing of going out for a pack of cigarettes or something. Yeah. I mean, I suppose it still does happen to this day, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. On to track 7. So glad to see you. This is the one you meant was your favorite.
My favorite, yeah.
This one took forever to grow on me. I did not know what to make of it for a long time.
It's Prince, it's TV on the radio. It's definitely like the most contemporary sounding song on the album. And he really just, I mean, this should have been the single, for fuck's sake.
Well, I don't know if, it's not radio play, so the one, fuck wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
But this one, again, took a while. It's all completely harmonized. Gabriel Royal and Ashanti Chaplin. And there are some great sort of contrasting layered vocal parts where one's going there are two different lines kind of layered over each other.
Yeah.
That's really nicely done. There's an electronic snare that seems a little too loud, but still kind of fits.
Yeah.
And it's the one I think with the most emotional weight. You get your head around the lyrics.
Right.
Certainly the most unique song on the album.
Yeah, definitely.
And finally, track 8, Remember Us. This is the first song I'd heard of his, and it's another one of my favorites.
It's a nice bookend. It sounds a lot like Regina Spektor, but it kind of brings it all back full circle to the beginning.
And this is the one that was on Night Vale. There's like 3 or 4 3 different versions of this song that I've heard. The original version, which is one I played for you last time, is the one that was on Night Vale. He re-recorded it again on a subway car, tweaked it a little bit, and tweaked it the lyrics a little bit for this one, and also added in the chorus, added some other strings. I think this is probably my least favorite for that reason. It's the one I'm least familiar with, and also I just prefer the one solo in the subway. But still a great song. Again, great sparse arrangement. Could have done without those bowed strings. Also, the overdub pizzicato strings between the verses is also new. Any overdubs is new.
Yeah. Well, right, because
love how it starts with this solo, really beautiful solo, and then there's this instrumental section in the middle. He does the jazz thing, guitar thing, where he plays a solo and sings it at the same time, which was really nicely done. So, would you recommend it?
Definitely. I think. Yeah, when you were giving me the choices last week, and I definitely saw this had more possibilities. And
I had Scott choose between this and Fox, their debut album, their only album, which we'll get to eventually.
And I was wondering, like the first few songs, did I choose right? Is he really going to go any other place with this? And then as it went on, I was like, oh yeah, he's going many different places, and
He's done another album. I haven't really delved into it too much, so this might be another Punch Brothers situation. But from what I've heard, it's good, but it's more straightforward R&B. Less focus on the cello. So I don't like it as much, but it's a solid R&B album. I think he plays more piano on the new one. Of course, I recommend it. I listened to it ad nauseum when it first came out. Love it. And that's it for Gabriel Royal. And until next time, we'll be.
We should discuss the possibility of doing something else next time, though.
Well, I want to close with the hearing.
Yeah.
The other thing, we were talking about Doctor Who.
Oh no! We're talking about the hearing.
Oh, okay. What else?
There's been a death.
Oh, we will talk about that after the show. So maybe the Juliet Letters by Elvis Costello, maybe a tribute episode that I haven't heard about. We'll also be revealing our top 10 albums of the year that we've reviewed, of course. We didn't have enough for a bottom 5 even.
No, not really.
I think there aren't even 5 between us that we didn't recommend. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say at least half of our top 10 are going to be the same.
Probably.
There's 1 or 2 that I'm not sure that you might get to. I think I'll surprise you with 2 of your picks that made it. Well, one of them won't surprise you. The other one might. Anyway, that's next time. Until then, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are.